Is there a way to be a straight shooter? Oh, sorry. Is there a way to be straight shooter Jocko and not be a jerk or piss people off?
This is a touchy one. Mm-hmm. Because everybody has so much respect for the straight shooter, right? Hey, that guy's a straight shooter, and you want to be a straight shooter. You don't want to be you don't want to be the opposite. What's the opposite of a straight shooter? That's like a liar.
Right. Deceiver, deception.
A deceiver, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, we want to be the straight shooter. Let me tell you, it is very difficult to be a straight shooter with everybody. Mm-hmm. Even when you have a tremendous relationship with somebody,
Yeah.
can you really be a straight shooter with them? A true straight shooter. I've been a true straight shooter with probably 3 or 4 people in my life.
Yeah.
In my life, I've been a straight shooter with maybe 3 or 4 people. That's off the top of my head. But I'm just saying it's not a big number. It's got to be somebody that you are so in sync with.
Man, I'm thinking about that. I don't think that's even possible for me in my situation. Even because it's hard
to be a straight shooter.
Yeah,
with people?
How can you reconcile being a straight shooter now? Consider what that means. But to be a straight shooter with somebody at all times,
Yeah,
you can't really do that.
No. So what do we do instead? You got to use the indirect approach. The indirect approach, and I'm talking about this all the time. And this is a nuance that people come out on podcast 12 and they say, "Hey, I heard you say this, and I'm going to go." Remember that question we got asked? Do you ever get told you're too direct and too intense?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, I don't get told that.
Right.
Because I don't believe in trying to be a straight shooter with everybody. Yeah. What I believe in is trying to get my message across to people so that it gets absorbed by them.
Yeah, man.
And the minute you straight shoot somebody, their defenses go up and it becomes problematic. So some indirect approaches are when you have these discussions with people, when you use conversation to get your point across. Hey, I was looking at this and I was wondering what I could do better.
Right.
Can you help me? Or, what can we do better? You're throwing the we on it. Or, then you say something like, hey, you've got so much going on right now. Mm-hmm. Do you want me to take anything off your plate? You want me to take that thing off your plate that's kind of like a small little detail? Do you want me to handle that? Or, hey, it seems like you're having to micromanage this guy over here. You want me to go straighten that out and run that? Or it seems like this guy's taking up too much of your time. You want me to take that over? Or take that person over? Or, it's a good one. Is, hey, can you help me with my team members? I just want to sit down with you and just have you talk to me about what you see in my team members. And then when you're discussing your team members and other people, even your peers, and what they do good and bad, but what you're really doing is you're just tossing some things their way, some little things their way, so that they understand, and it's kind of like teaching jiu-jitsu, right? When you teach a move, or teaching anything, when you teach a move, you learn it better, right? Mm-hmm. If you make somebody teach a move, they're going to learn it better. Yeah. So when you make someone sit down with you and go through the issues that people are having, it actually makes them self-reflect, but they don't know it.
But they reap the results.
They reap the results of it. So that's a crafty one that I've used a bunch. Let's see. Here's a good one. I think I'm letting you down. I don't think I'm doing a good enough job. It's like I think I'm just.
Be careful though. With that one, seems like if you hit the wrong tone with that one,
you got to be careful with all these. You got to be careful with all these. You got to be tactful.
Yeah.
You can ask some more direct questions, but when you ask the more direct questions, you got to be you got to be true. You got to come across as being very truthful in your inquisition. So, for instance, hey, what was the strategy that you were thinking about over here? Yeah. Like before this whole thing fell apart. You don't say that part, but hey, what were you thinking? Or hey, what were you thinking about when you put this together? Because I don't quite get it. You got to be careful. That's another one. You got to be sensitive. You got to be careful. The tone can come off bad. What were you thinking? Right.
Right. Hey. What are you thinking?
You got to be soft with these. So it's much better to be indirect in most of these cases. And hopefully you can build relationships with people where you can be more direct, or you can get that conversation to be where it needs to be, to where you can get the key critical information across, but it's very, very challenging.
Yeah.
And again, it's not that challenging. It's not impossible. I did it with everybody all the time. I always got my point across to people. Always, and I'll tell you, this is something when I would straight shoot somebody, and this is, if I really needed to straight shoot somebody, I would write them a very lengthy email to say, hey, here's what's going on. Here's what I'm seeing. And I would really craft it with a lot of patience. And then I would either do, once I wrote the email, I would either use that, I wouldn't send it, but I'd use it as a guide to myself, like, okay, this is the conversation I'm going to have. Or I'd send it to him for real.
Right. Like a DL note.
Yeah, like a DL note. I actually read one of those.
Right.
I read one of
a
those
DL
on
like number 2 or something.
number 5. I think it was number 5. That is one of those things that I did. I said, okay, you know what? I got to help this guy out. Got to be direct with him. He's making some mistakes. I want him to do better. Here's a little DL note for you. Get you squared away. The thing is, this is definitely hard, but it's not impossible. You got to just have the open mind. You got to use your tact. You got to use your judgment, and you got to build relationships and have conversations with people. And know what your intention is in the conversation, and just keep slowly moving in that direction.
You know what? A tip, and I'm going to say this tip because I like when people do it to me, when they're like correcting me or whatever, is sprinkle in little comments about the stuff that they did right.
Yeah,
And
that's a common practice.
Yeah, but when you do that though, you add in this. You add in, and that's what I like about you. You do this, So it's so if you add in, that's what I like about you. It kind of individualizes that person. Like, I'm the guy who does that, that good part. So it gives them that confidence. So it's kind of like, yeah, tell me more kind of attitude. And then at the end, throw in like something along the lines of like, yeah, good, thanks, thanks for the time or whatever. And then be like, I got your back.
Yeah.
Kind of leave them with that.
Yeah, and there's we could go over techniques all night long. Those are both good ones. Another one is like, hey, listen, I think you can be a top performer here. I think you're going to, this is if you're talking to someone that's, like a subordinate. I think you could be a top performer here. Here's what you're kicking ass at.
Yeah.
This, and this. Here's these 2 things right here. If we can get these fixed, you're going platinum.
When we get these things fixed.
When we get even more positive. Yeah. Look at you.
I'm imagining in the sense of you telling me this in like jujitsu or something.
Yeah.
And so like Dean used to say like, when I'd be like, hey, and I'd ask him to say, I'm in this position, and he'd be like, yeah. Then later on, I'd text him whatever, hey, thanks for going over this with me. He's like, yeah, bro, keep it up, and you can be like a world champion. He'd just say that, and I don't know who else he probably says that to everybody. I don't know.
He's never said that to me. That's because we hate each other.
But for that moment, I'm like, hell yeah, like I hope he corrects me more. Yeah. I hope he tells me how to do this, because he obviously believes, just like how you're saying, you can be a top performer here. Be like, yeah, tell me what else, what can I do?
And actually the point that you're making is a very good point, which is, picture, go into the perspective of the other person, and what is it going to sound like to them, and that's a smart thing to do. So you're hearing what you would hear if you were them.
Yeah.
Yeah, indirect people. Be indirect. It's harder. It's challenging. It takes more time. It takes more patience. And it is way more effective. Fact.
Yeah. And we talked about how before, like some people, they'll be like, hey, I tell it how it is. I tell it how it is. And if you don't like it, kind of thing. And all right, go ahead and do that, but see how that works out for you. See how many people follow you. See how many people want to listen to you. See how many people want to be around you even, I like the indirect approach too.